Hello and good evening to all. I am Parth Varu, event planner for Microsoft Reactor Bangalore. Thank you all for joining us today at Reactor Bangalore. The session will run over next 60 minutes, including Q&A. The session will be recorded and will be uploaded to our Reactor YouTube channel, and we will share the link of our YouTube channel in the chat section soon. Before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind, and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Also, please keep your mics muted during the session. I would now like to welcome Abdul, our speaker for today's session. Abdul is a Microsoft MVP on Azure and founder of a company called CodeSizzler, based out of India and Sharjah, working with MNCs across the globe for cloud consulting, migrations, and training programs. He has a good command over Azure and loves seeking a position in a global atmosphere that would enable him to cope with the emerging technologies coupled with a scope for winding the spectrum, being an evangelist. So now over to Abdul to begin the session.
Thank you very much, Parth, and let me share my screen. I would appreciate if someone can let me know if you're all able to see my screen, please.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this SAP talk, deploying SAP on Azure, joining hands with the Microsoft Reactor program. And thank you so much for holding on. We had few technical challenges and was about to start a bit late, but never to be wrong rather than being late or starting up with good knowledge sharing. So I appreciate you people being here, and let's start with the day. Here is a quick introduction of mine. I am the founder and CEO of CodeSizzler based out of India and Middle East, and we already had a quick introduction from Parth as well, so I don't want to take much time. The next 60 minutes that we're going to speak about is all like what we're going to have with SAP on Azure. We'll be speaking about the VM deployment methodologies that we have. We can start the deployment to be done from the ARM template, or we can speak about the deployment to be done from the Azure portal, or you can still go ahead. You can say that you will directly go with the deployment to be done from, let's say you're using Terraform to manage the infrastructure, or maybe any third-party tools that we have. So there are like different deployment methodologies that we'll be speaking about, and we will also be speaking on the implementations, right? A single instance implementation to see how we can go with SAP to be deployed on Azure. Let's say, for example, a two-tier and the three-tier applications to be deployed over here. At top of this, we will also be speaking about implementing high availability, right? With SAP NetWeaver joining hands with any DB on Azure as well. So this is all going to be the takeaway that we have for the next 20 minutes that we'll be speaking about. And here start with deploying single instance implementations of SAP on the Azure environment. So to go with this, the very first thing is that you need to know about the different deployment methodologies. As I have been saying before, we can move with the deployment to be carried on from the portal, or you can go with the deployment to be carried on from the PowerShell commandlets. So Microsoft supports with the PowerShell commands, which you can give up a PowerShell script and you can try running your PowerShell script to deploy the entire architecture that you have, right? So that's like one another kind of thing that we can do across. And apart from that, you can still go up. You can always say that you would be implementing with Azure CLI commands. So if you have been with any open source environments before, you should have. I mean, let's say you are working with the Linux background or anything, you should be more convenient with Azure CLI compared to the PowerShell to work around. And apart from this, we do have like an ARM template which can be carried out. So you can go with an ARM template where you design the template and you can give up the deployment for the same. And finally, we have the Terraform, which I was speaking about. So Terraform is an open source tool on which you can provision and manage the cloud infrastructure. So this is going to help you with the infrastructure and configuration files where you will be having the topology of the cloud resource, like the VM storage accounts that would be available here. Here is where the single instance implementation goes across. So you can try deploying a single instance from a marketplace image, or you can go with two primary options to deploy a NetWeaver with HANA as well. They can follow with the HANA installation. Before that, you can put up the either like you follow the SWPM. All these images are set to be available with the marketplace. So you go with the SAP NetWeaver, right? Two-tier compatible template using a marketplace image or anything. Ideally, you can find these things. Let's say if you could go to the Azure portal, let me take up here. Give me a minute. Let's use Chrome. And here you see, we shall go with Azure Portal. It's getting loaded, just hold on. But then before that, you can also find it at the GitHub, right? You can go with github.com/Azure, and you find the Azure Quick Start templates. So here you find templates. So let's say if you want to go with any ARM template for SAP, you can still find it. Like you go to the quick starts, and here you should be able to find it across. Okay, you can search for it, like you say SAP or give me a minute. Application workloads. Yes, here you can find it. We have Docker and all those things now. You can just search for, you can find SAP here. And at top of this, you can also say create a resource. You have the marketplace, right? You can say SAP. And here you can find the SAP images that will be available. Can you find this SAP HANA Developer Edition that you have? Or you can even search for like the three-tier compatible, let's say SAP space NetWeaver. Can you find this infrastructure for SAP NetWeaver and for SAP HANA? So we have these two.
Hey Abdul, sorry to interrupt in between. Can we I have a little bit humming of noise coming from your mic. Can you adjust it right around?
It should be a neighbor background sound, but then it should be okay by a minute of time. Just hold on, please. It should
Okay,
be
okay,
almost.
okay. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, so here is all like the images that you find. I'm pretty much sure that you should be an expert on SAP before getting onto Azure, or you should be an expert with Azure at least. So you can go to the marketplace and you can find the images which we could have it here. And we can also perform like a manually installing. You see here, this we have been discussing, but you also find like manually installing a single instance SAP HANA on Azure VMs. So this is almost like you have the SWPM, which is your software provisioning manager. You can go with this SWPM and you can try installing it. So it's a deployment considerations where you just go straight forward and you try processing the applicable tools that you need, just same like your on-premise to put it on the cloud environment. So regardless of the approach, whether you use a image, which is said to be over here, where exploring a single instance or a manual instance, you're going to start by provisioning an ASCS instance over here. Okay, so it's going to be the installation that carries up with the SAP management share, and that includes the SAP profile directory, which must be shared to the SAP DB server too. To work on these things, you need to first prepare the Azure VMs for the manual installation of SAP HANA here. The scratch thing that you need is the OS update that you need to check. So you check for the Linux OS updates and you fix before you install any additional software here. You're going to install a patch and you might avoid a call to the support desk as well. So please make sure that when you go with SAP, you need to use SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP applications, or you can even use like Red Hat Enterprise or Linux for SAP applications here. The next that we used to have is your disk setup. The root file system in a Linux VM on the Azure will have a size limitation. So you need to attach additional disk, the disk space to the Azure VM to run the SAP workloads. For this SAP application server on the Azure VMs, we use the Azure standard storage disk, which might be enough. And for the SAP HANA database management servers, you need to go with Azure VMs that will be using premium storage for you. On top of this, you do have we have the kernel parameters that you need to check. You can even Google for this. You can take a note. You can Google for SAP Note 192, the numbers that has been given. So SAP HANA requires specific Linux kernel settings, and these kernel settings are not a part of the standard Azure Marketplace image, and it must be set manually too. So depending on whether you use SUSE or Red Hat, the parameters might be different as well. And we then have the file systems. So file systems, like you have two file systems for the data and the software that we use to carry up here. You need to configure it. And the host files. So before you start to install SAP, you make sure you include the host names and the private IP address of the SAP VMs in the host file. We can deploy all the SAP VMs with one Azure virtual network as well over here. So then your the fstab file. So this way, if something goes wrong by configuring this disk, the VM does not stop responding in the boot process for you. So you just need to remember the additional disk space might not be available. So you need to process with all these two file systems. And you also need to put up the HANA followed by this. I have here added the step-by-step executions of how you can put up your SAP SWP. Okay, you can take a note of this. You first need to create an Azure VNet, and followed by that, you will deploy the two Azure VMs and the disk which we have been speaking about. So you'll be having the disk that you need to configure and the premium data disk as well to the HANA DB server VM. And thereon, we'll be creating the strike volumes with the help of the LVM or MVM tool. And then the XFS file system, followed by mounting the new files as well. And thereon, entering the IP address all to configure it, and the no file parameters to be added to. You remember, I was speaking about kernel parameters, and we will add the swap space at top of it. And thereon, we go with the graphical desktop on the test VMs to be added up. So you download the SAP software from the marketplace, install the same on the app server VM, set up the directory as well, and followed by that, maybe any DB or Oracle database, like any DB that you need to get connected for now, you have to configure that here. Thereon, we will be installing the primary application server, and we will be starting the SAP management console to connect with that thing. So this is a kind of like a same configuration that we need to put it up for your implementing high availability with SAP NetWeaver on any DBs as well. So here, you will be deploying Azure resource with ARM template, and you will see the compatibility that we have for the DBs connectivity. Let's say for a SQL server, or let's say for an Oracle database server like that. See, the point here is that we go on, right, and we discover like the high availability to put up with the ARM template. So first you need to configure the VMs, followed by the network cards, and then the availability groups that we have as well, like the SAP application server VMs, SAP ACS clusters that we can add it up, and finally an internal load balancer which can route the traffic between the server machines that we have. We will also be configuring a network security group. The network security group is where you'll be having an open external RDP port that can connect for the application servers. So without taking much time, I will stick on to a lab to see how we can deploy this SAP architecture with a Linux VMs. Okay, so we'll be provisioning the Azure resource that will be supporting high availability. You should be knowing that We need, I mean, fault domains and update domains to be configured for the high availability. So there you will be having like a availability set, or you can go with an availability zone to configure it. And again, on top of it, we will also be adding a load balancer too, a load balancer which can route the traffic between the internal server machines. We will then configure the operating system for the Azure VMs, and thereon we will set up the clustering. You can feel free to let me know if you have any questions on the components that we have been speaking about. Like, we have to check for the OS updates. We have to check for the kernel parameters. We need to put up a load balancer, the disk to be configured, right? Any questions for me until this? Well, I will also stick on to the last 15 minutes probably to see if you have any questions. Okay. Uh, as of now, let's go to the portal and we will see the implementation part of this. See, let me take a new page, right? And we will see how this can work for us. Give me a minute. Section. So we're using Microsoft Reactor event. SAP Azure. Well, I hope it's getting pasted. Just hold on. Okay, no problem. Let me put it up here. See, the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'll be provisioning Azure resources, right? We will see how we can provision the Azure resource which are necessary to support high availability with SAP NetWeaver on the deployments there. And followed by this, we'll also be configuring the OS, right? And then the clustering part there. So to work with this, let me open up my Azure portal. Give me a minute. So here we go. And there we will try setting up the Linux clustering. Okay. So as the base, the scratch thing, let's go. We will create a proximity placement group for the same. Okay, so first I'm going to provision the Azure resource. Let's go here. We will say create a resource. And thereon, you can find where we'll put up the portal resource to be added up. Oh, I see some question on the chat. Give me a minute. Hello, Amar. Does Azure provide physical server for SAP HANA DB deployment? Unfortunately, no. You don't have any kind of like Azure Stack kind of things that are supported as of now for SAP deployments. You just need to go for with the Azure data centers that we have.
No, my question. Yeah, hi.
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, so my question was that instead of a virtual machine, can I use a physical machine on Azure in the Azure data center only?
Yes, that you can do it. I thought you were asking about like Azure
Azure
Stack
Stack.
kind of.
Yeah. That was my next question. That if I have set up a Azure Stack on my data center, so then SAP can be installed, right, on Azure Stack?
See, actually, you don't have a kind of support. I mean, you can install it, but
Right.
there's nothing like a certified configurations that are approved by SAP so far.
Okay, so then we can't do anything because SAP is all about certification. If it is uncertified, means there is no support from SAP.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, let's go. We will try creating a proximity placement group first. Wait, let me go with a different subscription. Okay, so here, let's say create a resource, and I will look for proximity placement group. Say create. And a new resource group here. AZ120.1 resource group. Okay. See, why I'm using AZ120 is that I'm going to share you a Microsoft Learn link as well. This has a touch base with Microsoft certification tracks too for the SAP on Azure. So let me use the same. And by the end of this talk, we'll be sharing few Microsoft Learn links on which you can collaborate learning too. Okay. All right. And I'll be using a data center region, which can be probably East US of the data center region. And let me give up a name here, AZ120.1A, proximity placement group. And now let's say create it. So review, let's create. Well, let's now say create this proximity placement group. Okay, now here I will try deploying my virtual machine, the create a resource and say a VM to be created. All the resource group that we have in the virtual machine as well. So VM, let's say AZ120.1, VM 0 at East US. Please make sense here. I said that we need a I availability, so we will go with the availability set to be configured now. And thereon, let's say a new availability set where we can give up a name for the same. So AZ120.1 A AV set. And here's the number of fault domains and update domains that we're going to give up. Let me click on OK. So you know this, right? The fault domain is where it's going to be for unplanned maintenance, and the update domain is for the planned maintenance. It all speaks about like, the number of nodes that it gets replicated, and that helps you when there is an outage that happens. We then have the image. So you can click on the drop down, you can find the image that's going to be compatible for you. Let's say I will move with the SUSE Enterprise. Let's say see all images. SUSE Enterprise. Linux for SAP. Bring your own support. Sorry. Oh, okay. Do we have source file? All right. So let's go with this. Probably with the jet one. Okay. This should work for us. And now here is the size of the machine. So sizing, let's say I'll click on the size. Let's go with D4 SV3. Can you find this recommended by the image publisher? So they give you all the recommended machines. Let's go with D4 SV3. And we should use authentication type to be password. Username, let me see student. The password for the same. So and followed by this, the disk premium SSD that we are going to use, and we'll be having encryption as well. Followed by this, let's go with the virtual network. And I will put up a subnet for this. Okay, so you say create a new, and the subnet name can be subnet 0. Okay. Oh, address range. Let's delete this. We should say address space will be 192.168.0.0/24.20. And this will be subnet 0. Say 192.168.0.0/24. Right. And we will also be adding like an IP address. So you can find here, you're adding a new IP with a network interface card. And we are also enabling the accelerated networking. We have a network security group. Now, I hope you could just compare with the tech which we have been speaking about. So this is all like the parameters that we'll be adding on. And once when this gets installed, right, when the VM gets created, they'll be checking for the OS update also. Okay. Next, management. Okay, this can be of default things. I'll go for advanced. And here in the advanced, have extensions. Okay, no need of any extensions. Boot diagnostics can be added up, so that should be fine. Okay, enable with, all right. I don't need an auto shutdown, so let me keep that to be turned off as well. And please make sense here, we will be having a proximity placement group. Can you find this? Let's place it on the proximity placement group that we have for high availability. And thereon, we will try creating it. So say review with create. And there we go with our VM to be deployed. Let's wait for this deployment. I hope you could see this. We have the availability set. We have the network interface card all, which gets, added up now. Once when this gets deployed, I'll be adding like another VM as well, okay, to the same availability set that we have. Any questions for me in the meantime? Anything on the chat? Okay. Well, so the VM has been added. Now let's go. We will try adding up the other VM. Okay. Open the new tab. And let's say create a resource, go to the Azure Portal. And I would say a VM to be created again. Resource group, let's use the same resource group which we created earlier. The VM name, let me say AZ120, not 1AVM1. East US. I'm going to use the same availability set too. and the image. So let's say see all images. The one which we have been served earlier. Okay, and the size, let's say D4 SV3 itself. Let's use password. Well, and the disk, let's go with SSD. Now, please make sense. We're going to use the VNet. We'll be calling the same subnet. Okay. I'm aligning it to the same network that we have. And accelerator networking. Okay. Management. Let's keep this enabled. And what else? Auto shutdown can be removed. You need to place it on the same proximity placement group that we have. And finally, let's create it. So say review with create. And I'll be creating one another VM too. So once when these machines are up, we'll be adding the disk then. Okay. I would request you all to keep your questions to be posted in the meantime as it gets deployed. It should take another couple of minutes for the deployment. Any questions for me? Okay. Yeah, I see I'm not typing something. What VM configuration to select for SAP HANA? All right, Amar, once when you pick up the marketplace image, right? Let's say, for example, I can show you here. So you go, you pick the image, you will be getting the preferred sizes that we have, okay, which SAP recommends for you. So see, I say SAP, for example, with Enterprise Linux, right? Let's use this image and you say create. By default, you can find the sizes that it's supported by Azure. You're getting it? So this is all like recommended by the image publisher that we have. So you no need to worry about what VM configuration of the size that you need to select. You get the support from Microsoft where they give you the preferred sizes by the image publisher. And if you're running out of cost, okay, so it does not help me out with Southeast Asia. Preferably when I go with East US, you can find it here. So recommended by the image publishers that we have. Cool. Let's check for the deployment. Yeah, it's up. Now let me go for the Cloud Shell. So let's say open up the Cloud Shell now. There on we shall call the resource group. So please make sense with the command. We call the resource group to be with the variable. And there on we will put up a data center location. So you say location with a variable, and we are configuring a series of disks which is set to be 0 to 7 for the VM0 there. So let's create it. I'm here using the Cloud Shell to create a series of disks here. Okay. Now, followed by this, let's create another 8 managed disks for the VM1. So for whatever you have configured here is set to be for the VM0. Okay, and now I'm configuring it for VM1. You see the command for I in 0 to 7. I give it as VM1 there. Okay, the naming convention to be with VM1. Well, so the disk has been created. And now let's move up. We will configure these disks. So go for the virtual machines, right? You click on VMs and you see VM0. Oops, let me check it. Yes, so we are at VM0. We should go for the disk here and you can say attach the existing disk. For the disk 0, you can find it here VM0 with the disk 0. Okay, let's select this. And host caching, you can say it's going to be read only. So you need to repeat the same for the 7 disks that we have. Okay, so it's going to be in total like you have 8 disks. Let me say attach existing disk. And here it's going to be disk 1 with read only. Okay, again the disk 2. So here let's say none. Disk 3, disk 4. All right, so here we are configuring the disks. Right, and we shall save this. So click on save. We shall now go for VM1 and select disk. Here, let me again say attach the existing disk, go for the disk 0 with read only, and let's repeat the same for the other disks too. There we go. Now I will again, like I missed clicking on save. So let's click on save and it gets added up. So here you have provisioned the compute resource that are needed for high availability. Okay. Now let's connect to the Linux VMs. So you have it here, and we shall try connecting with the resource group, and you call the public IP here. So you say PIP with a variable, calling up the VM0's public IP with a variable, and then we will try logging in. So you say SSH student with the public IP thing. Say yes to get connected for, and the password, I remember I gave it as PA55W.RD. There we go. So we are with VM0 now. Okay. Just same like this, I would say you can open up the other terminal for VM1. VM1, let's say the IP address here. So SSH student at the rate. Here we go with the IP address. There we go with VM1. Now please make sense. Here is my VM0. Okay, I will compare it properly. Okay, the one which you maybe let's place it like this. The one which you find it at the left is set to be VM0 and the right is set to be VM1. I'll say sudo super user. Okay. And there we shall run the command to identify the mapping between the newly attached disk. Okay, so let's give it up here. See, here is all the newly attached disk that you can find. I have the disks which are said to be of creating physical volumes here. Well, so now let me say I need to create some physical volumes. So you give this command, say the physical volumes of the disks are getting created. And we need to group this. Okay, you say volume group create. Please make sense of the command. See, we say volume group create with HANA and followed by like the other HANA backup and all those things. So let's keep this added up. And then we will create the logical volumes. Okay, here we go with the logical volumes to be added up. We shall then format the logical volumes. And I will then put up the partition here. So format disk is the command. Okay, let's see. For this, and then it's so the partition table has been altered, and it's syncing the disk thing. Let's do the same for if disk div j. There we go. Now let's format the newly created partitions. You see here the command. So we're done with the partitionings. And we will then create the directories that will serve as mount points by running it. So here we create the directories there. We say make directory and we call it up here. So let's try displaying the IDs of all these logical volumes. You can say BLK ID. There we go. Right. You need to copy this. You need to identify the IDs that we have here. So let me take a note of this. I'll copy it. I'll have it on my OneNote. Okay. And see, you have the fstab file. You can open it with the editor. You can say vi/etc/fstab. So this opens with the editor, and here we will keep the entries to be added up for the HANA data, HANA log, and all those things. So the format looks like, wait, let me show you. Format is going to be like this. And here you need to replace. See, it asks you for HANA data, HANA, right? So here you find the details, UUID for HANA data. So copy this. Keep it updated. Just same like that for HANA log. You can find it here. We have HANA log. And then the HANA backup. Here we find the HANA backup part. So copy this. See, this is how we need to keep your disks to be configured. And we have the HANA shared. So this goes with SDJ. Here it is, SDJ. Right. And version group with, what is this? SAP user. Okay. Check. Just here. HANA with SDJ. Okay, we should try configuring this in 2BC. This is SDI, right? Here is for SDJ. Okay. So please make sense. Here is how we keep it added up. We need to keep this entry to be added up as well here. So I'd say insert mode, go for the last. Excuse me. SDI. Okay, now let's save it and exit from here. You can then say mount this, like say mount A, and followed by this, let's verify whether the mounted drive so successfully added up. See, HANA data, HANA log, HANA backup, SCI, and J, which is available there. Is that okay? So the same you need to configure for the VM1 as well. So here it's nothing but we are configuring the storage for the Azure VMs running the Linux. We are actually running out of time. I will, you can keep your questions to be posted in the chat in the meantime. When I go across these demos, no, I will also keep it answered there. What type of disks to be selected for? Aman, can I make your question like, are you asking about either premium disk or standard kind of disk on Azure? Or are you speaking about the file system? If your question is based out of the disks that we have, then it's recommended to go with the premium one, okay, which even the SAP gives you across. Yes, for the high IO, we have just the premium that's available. Okay, what is the bare minimum hardware configuration for SAP HANA app DB memory? Just your D series machine, the compute size that we have, no DS1 underscore V2, that itself helps you out. Hello, Ram. Was not LVM being used for disk? Yes, we have been using it before, but then now SAP approves it for the premium configurations that we have. Okay, just makes sense. The same has to be configured for the VM1 too. So I would say here go with sudo super user. And say physical volumes to be created. The volume groups too. Sorry. So pv create /dem/stage and followed by this the volume group to be created. Right? So let's go with the logical volumes then. And finally, let's format the same. Right. So here say format disk /dem/sd. And we should try formatting for the other drives as well. So SDJ, let's go with SDJ. And here I would again say formatted. Right, and here in the VM1, we will try formatting the newly created partitions now. So here we go. And we will try making the directory there. So make the directory here, make directory with the HANA data, HANA backup, and all the stuffs. And let's call the IDs. ID. Excuse me. Here we go. Let's take a note of this. We shall copy the IDs. And you remember we had the syntax like before, no? So we will try replacing it again. You can go for the editor. You say vi/etc/f following the same. And here we have the syntax. So call HANA data. Here it is, the ID for HANA data. And followed by this, the HANA log. Let's copy the HANA log. And we do have the HANA backup. Here is the HANA backup one. So just same like what we have been doing before. Okay, we have HANA shared to, which is with I. Here it is. So copy it. Followed by that, the J1, which is said to be here. Yes. So let me copy all these steps and we should add it here. Say insert. And let me try adding it to the list. So here we go. We shall save this and exit from here. And now I will say mount the drive. So say mount A. And there we go. Can you find this now? We have the HANA backup, just same like what we had in the previous machines. So on top of this, we'll be adding like the cross-node configurations to be added all. So that we need to perform at top of this. Okay, I see some questions here. Hello, Ram. Why are we partitioning just disk I and J, but not the other drives? Yes, we have created the logical volumes, no? So we are not working on any partitioning for the other disk that we have here. You're right. Well, any other questions for me? I just want to stop it here as we don't have time. Let me answer your questions. And I have this MS Learn link to be shared with you, on which you can do some self-learning as well. And I have been speaking about this on other channels too, so I could also share the same with you people. Give me a minute. Deploying ACP on Azure. See, refer this learn material that we have, okay, the Microsoft Learn material that we have, which speaks about how to deploy SAP on Azure. And you can also, wait, give me a minute. Any questions for me before that? Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, we just have like another couple of minutes. Well, you can search for this video to make sense about the complete SAP deployments that we can carry up. It might be SAP NetWeaver or SAP HANA or SAP HANA on Azure, anything. Okay. Please let me know if you have any questions. If not, we shall join back for another Microsoft Reactor event to go with the next part of NetWeaver deployments to be carried up here. In case if you're working with the demos, please remember that you need to perform a cleanup after you do the demo. Okay, your billing for this SAP workloads also to be huge, and you need to make sure that you do a periodical cleanup as well. All right, Parth, I hope you're there. Parth, can I have you on board?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're audible now. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Seems
sorry.
like good, and they have no questions. We have answered a few questions of what they have been posting on. I see I'm
Yes.
something. Oh, that's good. Cool.
Any more questions, guys? Like final call? I'll allow mic access to you. You can even unmute and ask.
Amar, thank you so much for joining as well. I mean, I
Okay.
had a few technical challenges as well, but I really appreciate all your efforts. You people have been waiting for me to take it forward. And Path, I really appreciate for your contributions as well. You have been a rock star for making this a successful one. Thank you very much, Path. And
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining the session today.
yes,
Please share your feedback about today's session. Also, feel free to use the Learn module link, what Abdul has shared. This will give the access to the additional resources and it will take your learning further. Also, please visit our Microsoft Reactor Bangalore meetup page for more upcoming sessions. And thank you all once again
Path,
and enjoy the rest of your day. Yes.
uh, yes, Parth, I see a question from Abhishek asking about the link for next session. Maybe you should be the right person to answer it.
Yeah, Abhishek, I'll be sharing the few links where you can find the recording session as well as you can even get to know our more sessions where we will be publishing our sessions on the meetup page as well. Yes, I'm sharing you the link. Okay, so the first one is our LinkedIn group link. The second is our meetup page link, Reactor YouTube channel, and the third one is the Reactor YouTube channel. I think let's call for a wrap up. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, see you all on for the events day. Thank you.